Hello, everyone. This is Bill Apter from the Apter Chat, along with my co-host Josh Shernoff. And Josh, putting out a warning about this particular show. We invited Kenny Bolin on to give his list of the top 10 turkeys of 2018, and it became a very graphic segment. He cursed. He said a lot of things that people might say, "Oh my God, that really makes me mad." But we left it, and it's your choice if you want to listen to it or not. Josh, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I just think that when you ask somebody to come on your show and ask for their honest opinion, whether you agree with it or disagree with it, it's not for us to edit their opinion. Now, we can edit out some of the language that was used, but we asked him to come on, give his opinion, and I want every guest that we have come on our show to feel confident and comfortable that whatever opinion they give, whether we agree with it or not, that it will be shared to our audience in the narrative and way that they intended. Today's episode of the Apter Chat is brought to you by Blue Chew. Guys, remember the days when you were always ready to go? Now you can increase your performance and get the extra confidence in bed. Listen up. BlueChew.com, that's blue like the color blue. BlueChew.com brings you the first chewable with the same FDA-approved active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis, so you know they work. You can take them anytime, day or night, even on a full stomach, and since they're chewable, they work up to twice as fast as a pill, so you can be ready whenever an opportunity arises. Blue Chew is prescribed online and shipped straight to your door in a discreet package, so no in-person doctor's visit, no waiting in the pharmacy, and best of all, no more awkwardness. They're made in the USA, and since Blue Chew prepares and ships direct, they're cheaper than a pharmacy. Right now, we've got a special deal for our listeners. Visit BlueChew.com and get your first shipment absolutely free when you use our special promo code BILL. Just pay $5 shipping. Again, that's BLUE Chew.com. Promo code BILL, BILL, to try it free. Blue Chew is the better, cheaper, faster choice, and we thank them for sponsoring the Apter Chat. Welcome, everybody, to the Apter Chat. I'm Josh Shernoff, and I am joined, as always, by my co-host, the one, the only, Bill Apter. How are you, Bill?
Well, I've got this rash that I've been really scratching a lot on my left. No, I'm fine, Josh. I always love when people say, "So, how are you?" or "How are you doing?" But no, I'm doing great. Unfortunately, on the day we're taping this, which is we tape every Tuesday, and it's November 6, 2018, I was informed of two passings today. One of them, the legendary Jose Lothario, his son Pete had messaged me that his dad passed away at the young age of 84. And do you remember Jose Lothario, Josh?
I remember him very well for his time in the WWE or WWF at the time. I'm familiar with him, but of course it was before my time. Him as an active wrestler. I had the joys of watching him and Jim Cornette in the ring with each other in the WWF, which was entertaining. But no, for me, I always knew him as Shawn Michaels' trainer, and alongside with Shawn during that boyhood dream build up and initial title run. But
he also was part of the Shawn Michaels training school down in San Antonio, Texas. But the time that I remember so well was when he wrestled almost every week for Paul Bosch down in the Houston area. And many times he teamed with Mil Mascaras. And he was an excellent, tough guy and technical wrestler. But when you talk about, and I use the word sweetheart a lot, he was such a sweetheart. He was such a gentle, nice man, very classy. Anytime I needed to pose him or do an interview with him, he was always ready and willing to do it. So our condolences from everyone here at the Apter Chat to the family, friends, and fans, of course, of Jose Lothario.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, that wasn't the only untimely passing that we heard about today.
Yes, one of the Sammartino twins of Daryl and Danny Sammartino. Danny Sammartino has passed away. We don't have a lot of details on this. He had been hospitalized for a while, but our condolences, of course, go out to the Sammartino family. Danny, of course, the son of Bruno and Carol Sammartino. And yeah, very tough day. Also, I did find out through my spies in the WWE that Triple H's surgery went really well today.
Yeah, man. Did you see that picture he posted the other day? I guess it was
Yeah,
on
it was.
Monday.
Yeah, yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah,
But
that's how you know you tore something.
everything's good, and I'll bet you we
Good.
will see him back in the ring fairly soon.
Yeah, he doesn't usually. Him and John Cena. Those are those type of guys who just they'll say, "Oh, it's 6 to 8 months," and you'll see him back in like 2. But yeah, no, that was vicious, and that explained a lot about his match Crown Jewel, which brings us to Crown Jewel. We want to talk about that for a minute.
Well, we do. By the way, we are now at the start or in the middle of or the a few seconds or minutes into Headlock on Headlines. I didn't want to let that go
then yeah,
by.
you know what? Then we should
Yeah.
take a step back and we should formally introduce, because I think people's favorite part of the show is the sound effect, Headlock on Headlines.
All right, now Crown Jewel. You and I have talked about this ad nauseum. Okay,
Yes.
I'm glad that all the controversy is over about whether they were going and why they shouldn't go and or why they should go and what the company line was.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? I waited with bated breath to find out who the best wrestler in the world was going to be, who was going to get the World Cup, and I had my money on Rey Mysterio Jr. I really did. Not a lot of money, but I thought it was going to be him. But it winds up through all the twists and turns to, and I don't know if this is best for business, but it certainly didn't sit well with me, that Shane McMahon, is now considered in the WWE universe as the best wrestler in the world. Really?
Yeah, I don't even know where to begin with this. So, okay, first of all, how do you have a show with your first of all, you have your world champion and then you have your universal champion. So your world champion can't be the best because the world is held within the universe. But so the universal champion, we already know the universal champion is the champion of the entire universe. So that's the greatest champion that there is.
But
so
wait
then
a minute,
you have
they were
your
not in the tournament.
So
They
here's
were-
the thing. Now that I'm thinking about
Go
it, you
ahead.
have your WWE champion. They don't call it the World Championship. So you have the WWE champion as the best in the WWE, but not necessarily the best in the universe. And now you have a trophy for the best in the world. So yeah,
World Cup.
Yeah, it really was confusing. I wasn't bothered by it. I actually found it to be amusing, the Shane McMahon thing. I think obviously
Well, wait. Let's
he's
back
going
up.
for a heel turn.
Let's back up. You're talking about amusing. To me, it was like, wow, Shane McMahon's wrestling again. But when he put himself in there, he didn't go through several matches in that tournament. He was, if we look at it from a sports point of view, he went into this fresh.
Exactly. So if you look at it
Yeah.
from a sports point of view, there's your heel heat. That's what that's what they were going for. I would bet anything.
I don't think they were going for that, Josh.
You really think that their intention was that they thought this was going to be a positive reaction to Shane McMahon going in there?
For the Shane McMahon fans,
No.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I disagree. I think the way that he was showboating and cheering and everything at the end was 100% meant to be.
He's always
a heel
done that.
turn. No,
He's always done that. Come on.
I think it was meant to be a heel turn. But you know what? It doesn't matter either way. Either I liked it and thought it was a heel turn, or you got angry and it became a heel turn. And you did. And after chatters, Bill was angry. He was texting
Monday
me
night,
about it.
This coming Monday night, Stephanie McMahon's going to come on Monday Night Raw and discuss and talk about this thing.
Right.
I'm wondering what's going to happen now? Is she going to say in her position that this is void, that he cannot just put himself into this tournament, and they're going to have another tournament to determine the real World Cup champion?
I would say no, because I think we've moved on from the Saudi Arabia thing. I don't think they want to keep bringing it back up. And B, the best in the world cup really means nothing at all. I think you're going to hear a little bit about, what he did, but I don't think, they're not going to be like, oh, we need to do another tournament to, this isn't like it's the Royal Rumble.
Wait a minute. The kids at the bus stop, and I always gauge what people are believing by the kids at the middle school bus stop. They were over the moon that Shane McMahon won this. They were like, wow, he came out of nowhere and won this, and that he's the best wrestler in the world, and he's got the World Cup. So
inquiring minds want to know, why are you spending so much time at a middle school bus stop?
No, wait a minute. So there is a portion when I go for my walk in the morning.
Okay.
So there is a portion of the fans out there that love what happened. My feeling was, again, really, it should have been one of the guys that was in the tournament and not, and I'll use the term even though he doesn't work in the office, it shouldn't have been an office guy showing up all these other guys.
Right. Well, the way that it went with the story was obviously that, The Miz was hurt, and so Shane McMahon was going to step in because there's no way we're handing this to Raw. Realistically, that's just kind of silly.
Good point. Good point.
Yeah, well, I think that in wrestling, all that really matters. I'll give you a perfect example. I was watching AJ Styles' first WrestleMania where he wrestled Chris Jericho, and I was watching it with a friend who's very, very critical of everything the WWE does. And when Chris Jericho beat AJ Styles, he turns to me, he goes, "They just buried him. They just killed his career." And I looked at him, I said, if you think losing to Chris Jericho at WrestleMania kills your career, you have no idea anything about this business.
I absolutely agree with you.
And that's my point with the Shane McMahon winning this is let it play out and see where it goes. This tournament was a silly idea to begin with, this best in the world tournament.
No. Wait, slow down. Don't say that. It wasn't a silly idea. People were vested in this.
In your opinion, it wasn't. In my opinion, it was.
Okay, but wait a minute. So to me, it wasn't a silly idea. It had an air of class to it, despite the politics of the event, that this was going to be something that one of these wrestlers was going to be able to be the best wrestler in the world.
And you know what? I would have rather it been called the King of the Ring. If I'm being completely honest, I would have rather them just called it the King of the Ring tournament or something like that, because the best in the world cheapened it. It made it laughable, in my opinion.
Well, not in my opinion.
Okay. So, well, look, I think let it play out. I think the entire idea was always to have Shane McMahon walk away with it, and I think we need to be patient and see how this plays out. And you might turn around in 6 months and really be enjoying something and trace it back and go, wow, we only got here because of what happened with Shane McMahon in that tournament.
That is a probability, not a possibility. Because they usually have in mind what's going to happen. I mean, There could be something.
Unless you listen to Something to Wrestle with Bruce Pritchard.
Wait. There could be something happening at the Survivor Series that is going to come off of what this was.
Right.
That's what I think is going to happen.
Now, if you listen to Something to Wrestle with Bruce Pritchard, he has a tendency to talk about his time there, and there have been many times where he goes, yeah, we had no idea what we were doing, so we just threw something out there. But I'd like to think that this was not one of those times. This definitely seemed premeditated.
It's a different company, Josh. It's not the same company or the same mentality than when Bruce Pritchard was there. Doesn't work that way.
I agree in some ways. Yeah, I agree.
All right. So enough.
So moving on from that. Not moving on completely, because we do have to mention the second, and I don't know when he was on there the third time, but Hulk Hogan, straight from the Apter Chat to Crown Jewel, making his return.
We got him there, right?
Yeah, it was the Apter bump. That's what did it. No, Hulk Hogan made his on-camera return to the WWE at Crown Jewel. I thought he looked good. He tweeted out that he thought he looked a little too big and that he was looking bigger than all the WWE guys, and he didn't want people. Yeah?
Josh, I popped. I was sitting on my recliner watching it on my HD TV, and as soon as I heard his music, I got up and I was back in Hulkamania time. I really thought it was just a great nostalgic moment to see him come out like that and all the fans. Hogan, it was wonderful. And I feel good for him that he got that kind of reaction.
Yeah, and and that brings me to something else about the fans. I really enjoyed the fans of that show and how much they would pan. Sometimes you'd see these kids, and they were absolutely loving it. And there's been a lot of talk that I agree with, mind you, of they shouldn't have gone, they shouldn't have done this, they shouldn't, But I will tell you, while I'm watching, John Cena pulled out of the show, as did Daniel Bryan. And I have a lot of respect for Daniel Bryan pulling out of the show because he did it because it just didn't feel right to him. The rumor is the fact that they wouldn't let Sami Zayn compete when he found out things like this. But whatever it was, morally for him,
it's not a rumor, by the way.
Right. But no one said it directly to me, so I don't want to, But Daniel Bryan went with his own moral compass, and I respect the hell out of that. John Cena made a decision that I believe was based more on PR than morally. Not saying it wasn't also morally, but I do believe that it was a lot of, what Hollywood would think of it and whatnot. So John Cena pulled out. And the one thing that kind of bothered me a little bit was there was one time they panned to in the audience and you saw this little kid and his dad, and they were both wearing John Cena shirts. And I thought to myself, this kid living in Saudi Arabia, the fact that John Cena pulled out of the show, and this isn't a knock on John Cena, I hope it's not taken that way, but it kind of broke my heart a little bit for that little boy, because I just thought, with all the politics and all the horrible things that did happen with the reporter and the fact that, yes, maybe they should have pulled out of this, I then looked at those kids and I said, you know what? Maybe that's not the reason they did it. But if it is, then that was a good reason to show up.
Yeah. But I understand that, but I respect John Cena's feelings and reasoning
Absolutely.
for not going.
Well, we don't know. We don't know his feelings or reasoning.
Right.
So
right. But,
it's tough to it's tough to respect them.
But that's not totally true. The things that were out there where I believe he said some things on the mainstream media, he had his reasons for not going. But whatever they were, it's his personal decision. Yeah. And it's
I respect anyone to make their own decision. Yeah. I just I think it's for the people who are saying they never should have gone, they should think about those kids and the silver lining of the WWE going is all I was saying. Right. There's been a lot of criticism about Rey Mysterio having to change his mask. But, is it criticism or is it respecting when you're in somebody else's house? So look, there's a lot of...
Which is knowing Rey Mysterio, that's what it was. It was respecting being in someone else's house. Yeah. Because Mysterio will go with the flow of wherever he goes. He's one of the few people in the business that, hey, what do you need me to do? How do you need me to do it? Mm-hmm. And he's there.
Yeah. He was there straight from the Apter Chat as well.
Let's move on to one of the things that I want to talk about is the Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose feud has gone up a notch now. The Authors of Pain were scheduled to wrestle Rollins and Ambrose, as you know, for the tag team belts, and Ambrose didn't show up, and the Authors of Pain beat the hell out of Seth Rollins, and they're now the champions. This angering the fans even more against Dean Ambrose. And you and I talked earlier this week that Dean Ambrose is probably, if we were still doing in the magazines, if I was still back in the magazines and I was doing the top 10 most hated wrestlers, he would be number one.
I'm enjoying seeing how this unfolds with Dean Ambrose. It's a side of him that I knew was there and that I've been wanting to see for years. And I do hope that we kind of leave Roman Reigns out of this, like you had brought up last week. That maybe we could leave him out as much as we can of what he's currently dealing with. But the kind of just having this blood feud between Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins. I want there to be depth to it. I don't want this to just be you turned on me, whatever. I think there's so much potential to have so much depth to this feud that it could end up being, kind of the something that next year people are saying, hey, you remember the end of 2018? Yeah. That feud was, they were on fire. So, I'm curious to see where it goes. I'm glad the tag titles were taken off of them because I like that it looks like the focus is going to be on the Intercontinental title. And I also love the fact that the Intercontinental title is going to take a backseat to the feud because, you have your guys who make the title or your guys who the title is supposed to make. And I think that Seth Rollins is a guy who can elevate that title, as can Dean Ambrose, with their quality of match and their feud. So I'm curious to see how this is going to go, but I'm happy with what I've seen so far.
So another thing that happened on Monday Night Raw, and I think this is going to be it's something that's going to happen. That if it happens, I think it's going to be another real part of the women's evolution. Nia Jax and Tamina Snuka, allegedly enemies. This week, they showed that they were really friends. I think that the WWE is planning now to make tag team champions out of some team in the ladies division. What do you think?
I agree. And I believe Stephanie McMahon said a week or so ago that it's tag titles are coming sooner than you think. And I think that's fantastic. I am curious to see whether or not this will be exclusive to one brand. I doubt it will be. I'm sure there'll be titles for Raw and titles for SmackDown. Although I think we talked about this before, I wouldn't mind seeing just a women's show, a women's brand.
Well, of course, as you know, Access TV in January will be bringing WOW, Women of Wrestling, to their airwaves. And I'm wondering if this is the WWE's way of starting to, I'm going to use the word battle against what might be coming.
You know what? It's tough to say because I don't know that it's really on their radar in the sense that they're the WWE. I think they've just reached a point where they're in their bubble.
No. When a product like this comes along, I really do believe that it's on their radar and it helps them up their ante of let's get moving with our women's division.
Okay.
Just my opinion. Impact Wrestling, the week of November 11th through the 13th, so it's not a whole week, is going to Las Vegas to tape their TV shows. And I know that we're trying to get Johnny Impact on the show. He has improved so greatly since the time he was in the WWE. He's really become an excellent character. What do you think of his tenure so far in Impact Wrestling?
So I've been a fan of his since he was on Tough Enough. I have always thought that he was incredibly talented and something was just kind of missing when he was in the WWE. And I think he found it. Whatever it was that was missing, I think he found it. I was lucky enough to be there live at Bound for Glory when he won the Impact Championship in a fantastic, great match with Austin Aries. It felt so real. It was really cool to be there. But yeah, I'm a big fan of his. I think he has a style that's pretty unique to himself. And yeah,
And he's also a showbiz guy. He's been in several films, including Boone the Bounty Hunter,
yeah,
which he created and co-wrote,
yeah. I
and
mean,
served as the executive producer.
he's an
And
incredibly talented guy. He's currently going to be on Survivor.
yeah.
Yeah, he's a very talented guy, and I do hope that we get an opportunity. He's also a very busy guy, so I hope we have an opportunity to get him on the show sometime in the near future. I'm still waiting for my plane ticket and tickets to the tapings in Las Vegas.
Well, I also want to mention that his latest film project is the horror thriller film called Strange Nature, and that premiered on September 22nd. So yeah, he's got quite a lot of great stuff going on.
Yeah, I'm excited to see more of what's to come from Johnny Impact.
So I've got another headline that very few people know about.
Hit me with it.
I'm going to let you in on this and all the Apter chatters. For the past close to 9 or 10 months, there's been a project going on between me, a young genius writer and artist named Ian and Slomo, and former PWI editor Gary Morgenstein, who is out there with some great books. We are in the process of putting out a graphic novel called The Last Wrestler.
Very cool.
That's all the information I can give you right now. I will keep our fans abreast of that as we get closer to publication. But are you a graphic novel fan?
I'm not a fan. I've never been a huge comic book guy. My brother was a huge comic book guy, so I'm sure will look forward to it, especially as an author himself. So
okay,
yeah.
Well, I will keep everybody up to date.
Yeah, please do.
On the future publication of The Last Wrestler, and those are Headlock on Headlines. The National Wrestling Alliance, as everyone knows, recently celebrated their 70th anniversary. And the history of the NWA, I mean, I go way, way, way back covering their matches in just about every territory around the globe. And Josh, a few days ago, based upon the comments that we made about some technical issues on the streaming version of the 70th anniversary show, we decided to contact David Marquez, one of the brains behind the scenes at the NWA.
Well, what happened was, he and I were talking about some of the stuff that we had said, and I asked him, I said, what happened with some of these technical issues? Because, like I had said a few weeks ago, I didn't want to browbeat them about it, but I had kind of pointed them out, and you had pointed them out, and we certainly weren't the only ones. And his explanation for why this happened, I said, you know what?
Yeah, very valid.
I asked him, will you come on the show? And he said, absolutely. Because and it was great because we had an opportunity to talk to him about so many other things, the exciting stuff the NWA is doing. But it was great to really hear his explanation for a lot of it, just the whole, the production in general. But yeah, it was really great to have him on. So right
now, let's get chatting with the NWA's David Marquez. So one of the main people in the National Wrestling Alliance is Mr. David Marquez. And David has for many years run a successful NWA program called NWA Wrestling from Hollywood. And he is one of the main consultants. Nothing goes on in the National Wrestling Alliance without being run through David Marquez. And today it's our pleasure to have the man right here on the Apter Chat. Welcome, David.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, thanks for joining us.
Well, we're great. So what we wanted to talk to you about, of course, is that the 70th anniversary of the National Wrestling Alliance has happened, and people are all talking now. Nick Aldis captured the NWA World Heavyweight Championship, regained it from Cody Rhodes. So the big question now is, what's next for the National Wrestling Alliance? Because they seem to be upping their profile. Everybody's talking about the NWA these days.
Well, there's a lot in store for the NWA, that's for sure. The public has taken to this, as I knew it would, when someone was behind it that loved it and understood what the assets and the brand really is. And Billy Corgan and David Lagana are fantastic leaders that truly understand that. What we're doing, or what they're doing, just so you know, the leadership are those two. They do the majority of the creative and whatnot, and they're going out using third-party promoters and getting the story out there. I dare call it territories or anything like that. They're just getting guys.
Please
well,
do. I mean,
it does have that feel.
Well, yeah. When if you say territories today for this generation, it's like a bad word. They look at it and they groan because, let's be honest, the NWA has been abused. It's been whored. It's been everything, since probably the late 80s. Mm-hmm. And now finally, I feel it's on stable ground because there's one voice again in that, I dare say in that Sam Mushnick way, that there's one leader and one narrative. And so with that, they allow promotions to share in the legacy of the brand and the popularity of the brand and talents that they may or may not be able to afford. So anyway, to get back to the question, there's an awful lot in the future of the NWA. They appear on my television programs, Championship Wrestling from Hollywood or Championship Wrestling from Arizona, quite frequently. And that's how we get the majority of the NWA World's title story out. And then that footage is cut down on their 10 Pounds of Gold series on YouTube.
Mm-hmm. Which really is such a great series. Oh, I love watching that.
Yeah, that's great. That's all David Lagana.
And by the way, and I'm sure you know this, but the co-hosts of the Apter Chat, Josh Shernoff and Bill Apter, were on a recent episode before the 70th anniversary.
Yeah, saw that. And that's my point, man. It's creating this fantastic synergy, which is probably a better word to use than territories, in pro wrestling right now. I mean, just to get to the 70th show, if you think about it, Jeff Jarrett, local ground promotion with Tried and True Wrestling out of Nashville, myself and the Championship Wrestling from Hollywood crew doing the production, the television side. Then we use Jarrett and the All In crew. They're out of Florida, but they went up to Chicago. He's also the technical director for Ring of Honor. And then there's Ring of Honor itself. I guess there's a ambulance going by. I apologize.
I thought it was Scott Steiner.
and then there's Ring of Honor. We had to work and negotiate with them for Cody's appearance. And then the promotion with New Japan. He wore the title out on their show. So there was an awful lot of synergy, an awful lot of cooperation that I don't think that's been in pro wrestling in decades. And that's one of the biggest things I'm proud of.
One of the things that people are wondering, and I don't know if you have a handle on this yet, is that I don't remember the last time that the NWA World Heavyweight Championship was defended at Madison Square Garden. It was before my time back then.
It's been a while.
Yeah, is there a possibility that there might be an NWA World Heavyweight Championship title defense at the Garden in April when Ring of Honor and New Japan go in there?
As the man you know so well and who practically owns Madison Square Garden says, you never know. It's pro wrestling. There's always an opportunity if the deal is right and if it works for everybody. I'm not going to say no, but I don't know if it's a yes. Ring of Honor and the NWA, they're created a really good, strong partnership. So there's a good possibility.
Right. So it's safe to say that it's not off your radar of things that are being considered.
Oh, no, not at all.
But a lot of moving parts.
I mean, when you think about it, maybe 10 years ago, 9 years ago, Terry Silkin, myself, Bob Trovich, we did a title exchange in New York with Ring of Honor when Brett Albright won the title.
Right.
So it would be really nice to see it go up the street and at the Garden.
Absolutely. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about, you and I had an opportunity to talk a couple of days ago about the production value of NWA 70. And I want people to know that that any issues that had happened have been fixed. If you go on Fight TV and watch it now, which you absolutely should if you haven't seen it yet, you're getting it as it's meant to be. We talked a little bit about that, and we had talked about it on our show before. I just wanted you, because you had explained to me when I asked you, okay, so what happened with some of those things? And it just made such perfect sense that I felt like anybody who'd been criticizing it should absolutely hear what some of those issues were.
Sure. I mean, I was the guy making the call. Well, first out, our audio operator that we originally hired, for some reason, couldn't make it. I don't know if he was sick or just couldn't make it. So he was replaced, from what I understand, maybe the morning of, to operate the audio board. So I could hear the audio in my ears. Mm-hmm. I didn't know that it was not going to, for lack of a better term, television. We found out, I think, 3 what we call VTRs or B-rolls in, that it wasn't going out to the feed. Right. And then we quickly fixed it. So I think what the public missed was about 3 roll-ins. And yes, those have been replaced, and you could watch that as it was intended currently on Fight. One of the biggest obstacles that we had in the show was the fact that we were working with 3 separate teams is the best way to put it. Not like a solid crew like you might see with ROH or WWE or even Impact as an example. Mm-hmm. They work week to week, or even my Hollywood show. We work every 2 weeks together for the last 9 years.
It's the same family. It's the same crew.
Yeah. So it's repetitive. It's exactly what it's supposed to be. Everybody knows their job. Mm-hmm. Well, here we had 3 or 4 teams coming together to try to make that same marriage, that same relationship. And in a 4-hour period of meeting everybody, that's a little difficult to do. So we all hadn't worked with each other before. Everyone has their own way of doing things. My calls, I'm sure, are way different than, let's say, a Kevin Dunn or even a Kevin Sullivan at Impact, mm-hmm. or a David Sahadi. So it's a completely different way in presenting it. And that's what happened. So it was just that I was conducting an orchestra without practice.
Yeah, that's a really good analogy.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that you shared, because I wanted to bring that up because, so many people, especially on the internet, like we had talked about, and I fell victim to this as well when you just when you cover something and you only cover the negatives of it. And like I said,
sure.
I fell victim to that as well. So thank you for sharing that with us. And
of course.
Yeah, and the best thing is, look, I mean, whatever the issues were, you bring that same team back together again. It's not the first time they've ever worked with each other,
That's right. And, and if you watch just television news or sports, and they go up to the helicopter to cover traffic or a fire, mm-hmm. there's a probably 80% chance that the picture is going to go away.
Oh, sure.
It's technical. And I think the show was entertaining no matter what.
Yeah.
What we said we were going to present, we did. And we had a capacity sold-out crowd and a great pay-per-view buy, and the merchandise sold. And so all the objectives were there.
Yeah.
And, and especially when you think about it, the NWA has never tried to sell anything to the public. And this was the first thing, too. So for $24 outside of a year and a half of storytelling, all they had to pay was $24 for it. So I guess they needed something to complain about, especially when they put money out.
Well, I was going to say, the important thing is that everyone agreed on how great that belt looked.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
right?
and
so
and all the
at least everybody on the
NWA
internet.
national title.
Yeah, the national title.
Yeah, and all the work, all the action that took place in the ring, I didn't hear any negative comments about either.
I was going to say the only thing I was going to mention I didn't was all the fighting that and what I mean about fighting for survival, and Bill will get this too because he knows him. That Ed Schumann, myself, Bob Trobich, Bill Behrens fought for, from Dennis Carluzzo even fought that the war was won. This thing is still striving and it's alive, and it really means something when people see it in person. Bill has seen it many times, the reaction from the fans. But when they see this championship belt, which isn't even gold or diamonds or anything, just what it stands for, it's like the American flag. Like, people actually stand and salute the thing. It's really cool.
That's the symbol of the American flag. That's great. And
we fought like hell to keep that thing open, and not just us. I mean, there's a lot of other people too that I didn't mention.
Oh yeah.
But at one point we had, I want to say, and this is in the 90s or even 2000s, we had a good membership of about 28, 29 promotions around the world that actively promoted and used the world title. So Adam Pearce and Colt Cabana and Blue Demon and Brent Albright in modern times, they put a lot into this.
David,
wasn't just promoters.
I sent you a copy of my book, and you saw there's a picture of Wonderful Willie with the NWA World Title.
Yeah, that was a short-lived run.
Yeah, I wish Ed were here to see it.
Yeah, me too. Ed Schumann was just one of the greatest people, and he was so involved in the makeup of the National Wrestling Alliance in the Midwest area.
He was.
Yeah. So, David, when you were growing up, and you watched the NWA, who were the people in the National Wrestling Alliance that you'd like to pattern what the new version of the NWA is while it's still growing?
Well, I think Billy, David Lagana, and myself, we grew up in that Georgia Championship Wrestling satellite time of the early 80s, 82, 83, 84, pre-Crockett TBS, if you had the big satellites.
I was there.
We watched all that stuff. I know you were. You had my money every month, a lot of it. But I think we're doing our best to try to keep the tradition of what the NWA is while adding the modern tones to it. I mean, when you watch the main event at the 70th, it harkens back to Puerto Rico, or the Memphis type and Nashville areas where the brawl went around the entire building. It was 2 out of 3 falls for the championship. Trying to put that storytelling in there where the fans could hopefully let their minds linger a little bit when they know how the magic trick's done now. Mm-hmm. So I think we accomplished that. That's what I'm looking forward to. And I'm not sure if the listeners know this or not. I was really christened into wrestling by Harley Race and Gordon Soley. They were my teachers, and I had really good teachers. And no one, I think, is the definition of the NWA outside of those two. There's many others, but that was the learning tree I sat under at World Legion Wrestling in Missouri.
It's an amazing learning
luckily
tree.
For me. Exactly. I learned an awful lot of good, and I learned a whole lot of bad, but it was a great time, and now it'll be 29 years for me being in wrestling next February.
Wow.
And I've had a fantastic run, and my own Championship Wrestling from Hollywood show stems all the way back all those years. When you watch it, I hope viewers see it as, boy, this is like studio television wrestling with a great modern vibe. And that's our goal even with the NWA.
Well, it's interesting that you said that. One of the things that struck me with the NWA 70 was how, and I don't mean this in a negative way, but simplistic the setup was. It had a very old school feel. Is that something that moving forward, you think fans could expect, that it's going to kind of visually be more of a throwback, or do you think moving forward, do you think maybe the 70th anniversary was meant to be more of a throwback, but moving forward, I guess I'm comparing to there's so much now. I mean, you look at the WWE, everything's a screen. Even the ring posts are a screen. So, but Ring of Honor, of course, has an impact. They have pretty large screens. Is that something you guys would be looking into doing?
Well, I think the venue really dictates that. You're at the Nashville Fairgrounds, which isn't that big.
Right.
But I'll tell you this, the night before the show, Corrigan, myself, and Logano watched the Battle of Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, goodness.
And so when we were going through it, Billy was virtually narrating out loud the art direction of what he wanted. We had everything there to blow the place up. We had all the lights outside of the LEDs, but we had color lights, we had moving lights, we had all this stuff in the room. And Corrigan's the one that looked at all of us and said, no, cut all that stuff.
It's interesting.
He said, let's make this more, let's give it a subdued look. Let's make wrestling the focus.
Yes, great.
Let's make sure the eyes are the focal point.
That's
why the cameras...
David, you remember...
in the direction of the... Yes, sir.
You remember Gordon Soley, one of your heroes and one of mine, one of his regular lines when he was talking about pro wrestling was, indeed, the words on the marquee are spelled PROWRESTLING.
Yes.
Yeah. So
that's right.
Exactly. And it's pro wrestling that was on the marquee, not come and see a spectacular light show.
Sure. You know, we had an awful lot of nostalgia. Nostalgia sells for sure. The NWA is that. We invited Tony Schiavone. We invited Jim Cornette. And then my Joe Galley from the Hollywood program. I think they narrated a fantastic tribute to the past while really getting over modern talent. And I think that's what the fans walked away with. Willie Mack has been known worldwide, but at the end of that match with Sam Shaw, boy, it's a big deal.
Yeah. And you also had our guest this week beside you is Magnum T.A., and I heard he made quite an impact on everybody there.
He did, and the speech he gave was amazing. It's really cool. Actually, that match with Sam Shaw, I'm not sure when this gets out, but this Saturday at 8 a.m. across the country.
Tomorrow.
Okay. Well, I produced the Ring Warrior show on WGN America.
Oh.
So on that show, we're going to showcase Willie Mack winning the title from Sam Shaw on television.
Wow,
that's this
great.
Saturday at 8 across WGN America.
And again, it's that synergy.
So again, the synergy is absolutely there, and we're really trying to populate the fans with stop looking at the. This might be a dated phrase, but the George Steinbrennering of wrestling. Like, It's not that Reggie Jackson thing. Don't worry about what's happening behind the curtain anymore. We've been worrying about that for 30 years now. Stop worrying about what's happening behind the curtain. Enjoy what's in that squared circle. Get immersed in it. Find the fantasy, find the fun, and what you like. I come from the Walt Disney Company, too, the people that know my background. People don't go to Disney theme parks to stand in an hour-and-a-half line to take a photo with a 4-foot-high girl in a mouse costume. Right. They're going to take a picture with world-famous Academy Award-winning Mickey Mouse.
Absolutely.
And that's all they think about while they're there.
Yeah.
The magic does exist, and believing in it is great now more than ever. You don't have to be a closet wrestling fan reading Pro Wrestling Illustrated in your history book in math class anymore. You can actually hold that tablet out and read it with everybody. And everybody's in on the joke now. So it's great.
Yes. Josh, you'll have to tear up that photo you have now of you with that 4-foot lady midget.
Hey, now.
Yes. David, where can people find more information? By the way, I want to mention to you that David was kind enough to send me a collectible NWA Championship belt pin. And I said, where can fans get these? He said, we're all sold out of merchandise. So I was so glad to hear that. But where can people find more about the NWA and keep up with them on social media?
Well, they have a great, fantastic social media. On Instagram and Twitter, it's at NWA, simply the 3 letters. I believe it's just NWA as well on Facebook. Merchandise, you can get T-shirts at Pro Wrestling Tees /NWA, I believe. If not, look for National Wrestling Alliance. That's pretty much where you can get all the existing merch that I know of. The pins are sold through Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, which is at CWF Hollywood. And we are releasing more pins, by the way. Reggie Parks, Dave Milliken, and Rico Mann and I.
My friends.
And along with, Belts by Dan, who now has the J-Mar collection of belt designs.
Yeah.
We've gone into an agreement to make more of these championship pins because that did so well. So currently, you can pick up. We're reordering the NWA World Title now, but the Dan Severn version of the NWA World Title that was presented in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, at the NWA 50th
I was
Cauliflower
there.
Alley Club.
Yeah,
I know you were, as was I.
Yes.
And then the one. This is actually an exclusive because we haven't made this public. The NWA television title from TBS, probably quite possibly the most famous of all belts outside of the 10 pounds of gold, will also be the third championship pin. And they just have to send me an email, David_Marquez at HollywoodWrestling.com when that's available. But keep an eye on Facebook. That's usually where we make these announcements about when these pins are available. But I'm happy people like them.
Well, make sure that you pin me each time, to see the wrestling term,
For
each
sure.
time you have one of those, because I love those, and I'm still to this day, because I go back all the way to my childhood growing up. Even though I was in WWF territory, I was a huge NWA supporter, and to this day I still am, and I want to see them just take over the world in a lot of ways, because I think the National Wrestling Alliance was just incredible, and I love that Dave Lagana and Billy Corrigan and you as well, because you're one of their great spokesmen,
Sure.
are bringing this back. David, thank you so much. It was an absolute pleasure to have you here on the Apter Chat.
Thank you very much.
You got it, guys. Thank you. Thank you.
So, Josh, right now we want to talk about one of our major sponsors, Blue Chew. And, I heard from some guy this week, and I thought this was hysterical, but it was true. He was lying in bed with his lady, and he was having trouble getting going with making love. So he said to his girlfriend, he says, I have a pack of gum on the night table there. Can I have that pack of gum? She said, oh, blue gum. Can I have? I said, no. He says, this is a special kind of gum. And he went and he chewed the gum, and very soon after, everything went fine. So Blue Chew did the trick for him, and she never knew it was Blue Chew.
Wow.
So why don't you tell our listeners more about Blue Chew?
I would be happy to. So Blue Chew, you hear us talk about it every week, the longtime sponsor. But the reason that Blue Chew has been making waves in the wrestling business and in the world is because it works. BlueChew.com, that's blue like the color blue, brings you the first chewable with the same FDA-approved active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis. The important thing about it being a chewable is that it works up to twice as fast as a pill, so you can be ready whenever the opportunity arises. Anytime, day, night, if you're lying in bed with your significant other, like your friend Bill, or if you just finished a nice meal, because you can have it on a full stomach. Blue Chew is prescribed online and shipped straight to your door in a discreet package, so no in-person doctor's visits, no waiting in the pharmacy, and best of all, no more awkwardness. I think that's really the thing that's getting people to give this a try, is that they just have to go online, they have to put a couple of things in, and boom, it's sent to their door. You don't have to go and talk to your doctor about it. You don't have to go to the pharmacy and wait in line, because that is uncomfortable. That is awkward for people. They're made in the USA, and since Blue Chew prepares and ships direct, they're cheaper than a pharmacy. So you really have nothing to lose here, except for $5 shipping, because with just $5 shipping, you can use the special promo code BILL, B-I-L-L. Go to BlueChew.com and get your first shipment absolutely free. Again, just pay $5 shipping and use the promo code BILL to get your first shipment absolutely free. That is a 1 month supply of Blue Chew for free.
Great deal.
Absolutely. Again, that's BLUEchew.com, promo code BILL to try it free. Blue Chew is the better, cheaper, faster choice. And as always, we thank them for sponsoring the Apter Chat.
Josh, one of the people that throughout my career I have enjoyed the company of, both professionally and personally, is Terry Allen, known as Magnum T.A. And I've always, every time I see him and I interview him, I could sit for hours discussing the wrestling business. And a few weeks ago, when we were going over our guest list, I suggested Magnum T.A., and you really perked up.
Yeah, you know what? Magnum T.A. is a guy that, for me, when I was growing up as a fan, was always fascinating to me because he was that guy that you always heard about from the late 80s, where it was about to be this humongous breakout star, and then tragically had that accident that ended his career. And to me, it almost became like mythical of this idea of oh man, what would Magnum T.A. be doing now if he was in WCW or the WWF or whatever it was? And to have this opportunity to talk to him and to hear about his career and to hear his thoughts on what he would have been doing at that time was really cool. And I implore anybody who might be listening going, Magnum T.A., yeah, he was before my time. Definitely, if nothing else, that's even more of a reason to take a listen to what he had to say in this interview. Great guy, great insight into the business, still a fan of the business today.
Oh, he certainly is. He certainly is. And by the way, he is the stepfather of Tessa Blanchard, and he's so proud of her.
Yeah, absolutely, and for good reason. So that's enough chatting from just you and me, Bill. How about we throw Magnum T.A. in the mix and head right over to the Apter Chat with Magnum T.A.
Magnum T.A. So Magnum T.A., your stepdaughter, Tessa Blanchard, she's fabulous. Tell us about Tessa.
Well, Tessa is, as I told her many, many years ago, which has been almost 5 years since she started, Tessa has had that it factor since she was young, and that special intangible about a young woman that you just see something special in. And until she found wrestling, she didn't really have something to put that whole package together with. But when she found something that she loved and that she had a passion for, and then combined that untapped charisma of hers, I knew that it was going to be something that was going to take on a life of its own. And she's worked her rear end off. She's got as good a work ethic as her dad or I either one had, and we prided ourselves on working as hard or harder than anyone else we were surrounded by. And that has done nothing but take her in giant steps up to the front of the class, where she's gotten recognition that's really unheralded for someone with the amount of matches that she's had.
People always talk about nature versus nurture, and she got the best of both worlds, and especially as far as being a part of this business. Do you think that she could be a part of, with this whole women's revolution that's going on, and not just in the WWE, even though that's branded that way, this whole women's evolution, do you think that she can be seen as a front runner of that?
I think that if she stays on the track that she's on now, that within 2 to 3 years, that she could be the hottest commodity outside of the WWE universe going, much like Kenny Omega is probably viewed like today on the male side of that.
Great comparison. Great comparison.
And I really see that in her future. There's only two things that could keep that from happening, and they both involve her. If she somehow lost her passion and her love and her burning desire to be the best, then she might not realize all that she could be. Secondly, and the one thing we just all hope and pray, never happens to anyone, is that she remains injury free.
Sure.
Because you've got to be durable in this industry. You've got to be able to take the grind and continue to improve yourself and recover and heal and go on and give the next 5-star performance. And that's a tough gig, but she's only 23 years old. She's got youth on her side. And, I see 25, 26, somebody that, as she uses in her interviews and talks about it, and it's true, she's going to make herself, as I told her, I said, make yourself so good that they can't deny what you should be. And not because of your name, not because of anything anybody else says, because you're just recognized as being that daggone good that they can't deny it. So she's using that and dug into that. And, she doesn't come from from an easy, silver spoon in her mouth kind of background. She's worked hard since she was a young girl.
Sure.
And she's always had this great work ethic. And so, I just, I support her. I support anyone that follows their dreams and has a love and a passion for something that they can make their mark and make a mark in the industry and make a living and make money. Because at the end of the day, you can't do something for free. It's got to be something that pays the bills and brings home the bacon. But really, the sky's the limit. I mean, she's only 5'4", 5'5". She's not a giant, but neither is Rey Mysterio. And does she fly like Rey Mysterio right now? No, but she hadn't even started lifting the first weight, I think, in her life till she was like 19 years old.
Oh, wow.
And what she's done and built herself into, and now able to do reps for squats with 225 pounds and handle weights that a lot of men that aren't in shape can't handle. Then she's got just absolutely everything in the world going for her in that regard. The sky is really the limit, and the only limiting factors could be those one of two things. The only person that can take Tessa out of this game and out of this meteor ride that she's on is her, and I think that she's not going to do that because she's got that iron will determination, just like we all had to have back in the day to be successful, and she's implementing that. It's not just the talk; she's walking the walk and talking the talk.
Tell us about a relationship that a lot of people either don't know or don't talk about, and it's a positive one. Tell us about her relationship with her trainer, George South.
Well, George, she had been training with George secretly for about, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 months before I even knew that she was pursuing it. And George is just like the most down-to-earth guy ever. I mean, he's got more ring time underneath him than anybody besides maybe Ricky Martin.
Yeah.
Right, still out there actively doing it.
Right.
And his love for people and his love for the business and his compassion for teaching those that really earnestly want to and aren't just a bunch of idiots thinking this is some just easy life. Then he gives it all to. So George has kept her really grounded. He taught her just the fundamentals and she was working out in the ring with Cedric when he was before he'd gotten in with the WWE, and she was around some good solid folks before she ever even took her first baby step. And Tessa always had this aptitude for acting when she was in high school. So she did drama courses and had studied it and studied acting and loved that, but never really wanted to be an actress. But when she saw Tully get inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame, it's like a light bulb went off, and she said, I might could do this. Yeah. And she didn't like come home and just start talking about it overnight, but it sowed that seed in her mind, and she liked the way she felt in that atmosphere. And now she's out there on the road, paying her dues and putting in the work and reaping some benefits, but still paying a lot of dues to ultimately get to the peak wants to be.
We last saw you at NWA 70, the 70th anniversary event of the NWA. What was it like being there in that building and that atmosphere?
It was really special. It was like kind of like a homecoming of sorts, though there was lots of other faces I would have loved to have seen there and shared stories with, but being there with Dory Funk Jr. and Mil Mascaras and Road Warrior Animal and and Cody, of course, there to defend the NWA world title. It was just a really special event all the way around, and it was just by sheer happenstance that I got to be a part of it at the last minute. JJ was slated to be there and had a
J.J. Dillon you're talking about.
Yeah, J.J. Dillon, and had an untimely incident take place that made it impossible for him to attend, and it opened the door, and I made the trip and got to be there, and the fans were so gracious and kind, and made me feel like they remembered from 30 some years ago, what my part was in the game back then, and it was nice because there's so much heritage that we were so rich in that we were just adamant at defending and building up and protecting, back in the late 70s and the 80s into the 90s. And, I wasn't part of really seeing the NWA being pushed to the background because I got away from the business in 91. And though, it was no mention really made of it because I saw the WCW deals and nobody wanted to really talk about NWA anything. And I mean, I saw it coming, but I didn't really see all the struggles and things that they did and the people that tried to resurrect it, over, in the 90s and the 2000s. And, I didn't really see all that.
Right.
So what I remembered was the glory years of the Jack Briscoes and the Harley Races and the Dory Funk Juniors and Gene Kaninsky's and, the Ric Flairs, the men that fought for this coveted title for, what to me was a lifetime. And so to see someone respecting it, trying to restore it to its former glory and bring it into modern times is really refreshing. And I talked to Billy Corgan while I was there, and I even told him, I said, I didn't, until I was part of All In, I really didn't understand your vision and kind of where you were going. And I really felt like it was kind of a hopeless cause because I would see somebody trying to recreate, that which we had 30 years ago, and without the territories and all the places being unified and recognizing the champion and all the things that it takes, I didn't see that being physically possible. But today, with social media and the internet and independent organizations that are starting to flourish, like the Ring of Honor and Japan Wrestling and the Impact and what these other folks are doing, now I see, somebody could bring it back and have it recognized and organized and have a board of directors and have the things that it takes to make it a governing type body again.
Right.
So it was special, and I do I think they're there? Of course they're not there. I mean, they're this is going to take time and nurturing and cultivating, but there's people now that love it, are passionate about it again, are talking about it, in the same words and phrases that I was accustomed to. And it was really refreshing. I mean, Jeff Jarrett, the same thing. He's, very, very pro the NWA, franchise and what that represents.
Sure.
So, so I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that it can be, I don't want to say resurrected, more like reborn. Because it really needs to be, it needs to be recreated in a modern environment in which it can be successful.
Exactly, because what the wrestling fan has seen in the past years is a different type of product that they're accustomed to viewing, and the older NWA product, I don't know if the fans of today, the younger fans of today, can sit and watch those great matches like I used to watch with Jack Briscoe against Dory Funk Jr. and these type of matches because it's almost like an attention span. It's totally different.
Conditioned to, I feel like.
Yeah.
Well, but it's in media, it's in everything. If you watch the movies today, if you go watch a movie and all the the quick change scenes and all the fast video and all the things that happen, it's not like watching a John Wayne movie, back in the 70s, which was box office and sold and it was great, but it was great in its time. I mean, I still like going back and watching those things, but frankly, if I was going to go be paying money at the box office, I wouldn't want to pay box office money for something that I knew was antiquated. I'd want something new and modern and cutting edge. Sure. And the wrestling fan deserves the same thing. I mean, the days of, Ric Flair and I did 19 one-hour Broadways.
Oh, I was there for
most
of them.
Matches.
Incredible
and you were there.
Matches. Yeah,
and when we first got on TBS, and that's how we, rebuilt the Crockett, foundation to go on and do what they did, was through that credibility that those one-hour matches brought to the table of, our product as opposed to, Vince's product back then when Hogan was, in his heyday and going out there and having a 10-minute entrance and a 15-minute afterwards and about a 5-minute match.
Brother.
And that's, I'm not knocking that because it was entertaining. It was just a marketably different product.
Right.
I mean, we would go into Philly or go into Pittsburgh or Baltimore. We could go head to head with them, give them two completely different products and sell out both buildings.
Right.
So there's people out there that, like all flavors, and I'm not against any of them. I mean, I came from the Eddie Graham, Bill Watt school of defending the business and making believers out of, whoever, I don't think I ever had anybody walk out of an arena after they saw Nikita and I or Tully and I go to battle and said anything but, I just saw a hell of a contest. Yeah, those guys wanted to kill each other. And so, that was what we were trying to do back then. Now, to the modern era, we don't just have cable TV anymore. Everything we do is instantly known 2 seconds after we do it.
That's right.
So you've got to be much more creative. You've got, Tessa had the 75-minute match last week, broke the record for women, and longest match any two women have ever gone in history. Wow. And
wait, who was that? Where was it, Magnum?
Yeah, I don't even know where it was now.
Okay.
But she was, digging in and doing that. But of course, instantly the minute she did it, it was publicized. Somebody was streaming it. It's out there, and it's a once and done kind of deal today. You can't get the mileage out of things that you could 30 years ago.
Oh, absolutely not.
Tully and I worked 5 months in that program up to the I Quit match, where it culminated in that, that brutal battle. You couldn't do that today because we did repetitive things all around the horn based on the angles and things we were doing on TV, and we could get all that mileage out of it. And now you got to create, new programming, 7 days a week basically, and keep going and figure out what you're going to do next.
Right.
If Billy Corgan were to come to you and ask you one question and just say, what is one piece of advice that you could give me with this venture, with the NWA, what do you think that one piece of advice would be?
Well, that's a loaded question.
It is. It's an excellent question, but
because I just met Billy, and I want to stay on really good terms with him because I just met him. Yeah.
I don't want to be responsible for hurting your reputation.
Well, no, but the thing of it is someone's got to build bridges between all these independent organizations. Mm-hmm. And that's what I see potentially the NWA could be. Because where once we had all these territories that all had their own champion, and then the NWA would, champion would make the loop and come around and, work in your territory or go to Japan or go to New Zealand or go wherever, and wrestle their top guy. Hence all the Broadway they did because they didn't ever want to beat their own champion with a champion that was just going to leave, and he wasn't going to drop the belt to all those guys. But today, somebody has got to be strategic enough to make everybody be able to feel like they've got a piece of the pie and they're not going to be undermined, and there's not going to be some tomfoolery with someone trying to create a power struggle, but somehow get back in the environment, whether it's the champion that can, go to Ring of Honor, the champion that can make appearances on Impact, the champion to go to Ring of Honor in Japan and over here, and go all these places like they did without it being a threat.
Absolutely.
Where it's a value add and not and not something they have to pay for. Like the old days of the NWA getting 10% of the gate and all that stuff. I'm not making it a money monster.
Just help brand it again.
Yeah, to get the brand back to where it makes money in and of itself, just the name, and then everybody makes money when you create this perception of the governing body and the heritage of it, and all these things, and everybody's very defensive about it because they've invested so much in their own champions. I get that,
right?
But that's the only way it would ever work, and that's the exact reason that the Crockett's and Vince ran everybody out of business. They didn't care about the AWA champion. They didn't care about about the Von Erichs in their group of their championships or world class. Frankly, all they cared about was making money. But inevitably, they cut their legs out from underneath themselves by being greedy and ruined the very thing that feeds the whole tree. They cut the roots off. And, henceforth, we've got this very one-dimensional, one-sided capability today, which isn't healthy or isn't profitable for anyone. So, if I were Billy, I would be trying to form relationships with folks that are, frankly, probably aren't that easy to form relationships with. Mm-hmm. It may take a team of people to do it, and it may take several years for it to grow to what it's got the potential of being, but it's got to start somewhere.
It's got to be a group effort.
Yes, so it's got to be representation from each of these successful operations to recognize something, and then not lure them in under the guise of one thing, and then try to financially rape them on the other side of it. Right. If you truly want to do it and bring back the heritage, then there's got to be a whole lot of give on behalf of the guy that wants to build all this. And then see that there's enough money out there for everybody. If you do this, makes sense. But right now, it's a very limited little tunnel of folks, trying to accomplish this thing. And I don't know, I'm sure you guys heard that they're going to do the Crockett Cup.
Yes.
They announced that at the event, and which is really exciting. But for that to be really exciting, you need
all the best
10,
guys.
12, 14 spectacular tag teams.
But wait, you also need the mentality of the current NWA fan that is watching this is, what was the Crockett Cup? They do have to educate people.
And I think I think they've done a great job with the 10 Pounds of Gold documentaries that they were doing. So I think educating is something they can do. But yeah, I think you make a great point that you need all of these teams. You can't just find a couple of random guys, throw them together, and call it the Crockett Cup, because that's not what that is.
No, and it's not like the Mae Young Classic. I mean, the Mae Young Classic, they dangle out the potential of, well, if we like what we see, we may sign you to a developmental contract.
Sure.
Well, I realize that's the rite of passage in the way that most people, now find their way into the WWE organization. But I mean, obviously Ronda Rousey didn't go through the developmental center, and anybody who's really worth their salt and who has drawn and been a performer on a very high level, would not really want to go through that experience. Even though, don't get me wrong, I think the NXT product in many ways is much more exciting to watch than what I see on Raw and SmackDown.
Oh, a lot of people share that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, so I'm a big advocate of it. I wish they would just bring it completely out into the mainstream as a third brand rather than it being like a minor league, because it's not a minor league. I mean, there's world-class talent, sitting on that roster there, just ready to be exposed. So to me, that's another avenue of having a third brand.
Do you think it would lose its appeal though to the audience if it were to become mainstream? Do you think maybe?
No, I don't know if it would or not. I mean, my old NWA roots type mentality, likes to think, that would ruin it. But I've watched what business can do. I mean, what's good for business is good for business. If it's a little bit of markedly different product with different kind of storylines and a little more serious, then who knows? They could create their own type NWA type environment.
Yeah.
Right out of that. But to me, I think Billy Corgan is a smart man, and I think he's going to think outside the box. I mean, I would go. I don't think he has any delusions of going out there to try to compete, with the big machine.
Sure.
The WWE universe is. That's not even remotely in his thought process.
Right.
But he knows that it doesn't have to be. And honestly, just really go with it here. I would go and get with Triple H and see if he didn't want to support, because they made rumor of wanting to support the grassroots, organizations in different ways to help develop talent. And I wouldn't be so surprised that he wouldn't embrace trying to formulate it, maybe want some say-so in how it was all done, but to use it as a way to bridge all those gaps together so that the WWE would have even greater opportunity to utilize that talent down the road.
Yeah, because he's Triple H is an old school mentality guy in a new school world. So I could actually see that.
So speaking of old school and new school, that leads me to my other question that I had for you. This is just something I've always wondered. So your career, correct me if I'm wrong, your career in ring came to an end in the end of 1986. Is that correct?
October 14th, 1986.
Right. So a lot of people, I think, because you haven't been in the ring since 86, I think a lot of people forget how young you actually are, and that had that unfortunate accident not occurred, that you would have been around. You would have been if I'm doing my math right, you would have been your late 30s in the start of the Attitude Era.
Well, the Attitude Era would have started earlier. I can tell you right now, we were blazing down that trail like Mach 7, and if Jimmy hadn't lost control of the ship, if you think back on the violent confrontations and the things that we were portraying, it was only, I'd already popped Bob Geigel in the mouth. It was only a matter of time before Crockett.
I had you on my
title.
segment at that point, and I got letters of people that were going to kill me when I asked you about that.
I remember that.
Yeah.
So what I was wondering though was, in that time that preceded your the end of your career, your retirement, is there a time, if you look back now, if you say, is there one time where you say that's maybe that's a roster that I would have wanted to been able to work with, or that's a time of the television product that I would have wanted to be able to be a part of? Is there anything? Oh,
hands down, not even a question. It had the tide gone the way that it did, which, we can woulda, shoulda, coulda ourselves to death. Sure. But the fact is, the Crockett's had the whole world built around me, and they didn't have a plan B. I was going to be their champion. They wanted Flair to be their Jack Nicklaus, their Golden Bear. That was the words right out of Jimmy Crockett's mouth. They wanted him to be like the elder spokesperson because he was 10 years older than me. And they wanted a completely different youthful look to the champion. And so when Magnum, untimely 27 years old, gets, laid out and out of the game completely, they went, we had great momentum going. We were doing sellout business, and they went bazooty buying, signing all these guys to these big ticket contracts, trying to keep it all going. Well, if that was the direction of things had gone, I would have hands down wanted to be involved with Vince's organization, because Steve Austin's character was nothing more than a modern version of me with no hair and drinking beer in public instead of on the in the cars and airplanes going down the road. I mean seriously, I mean he just got to have a ball, and I would have absolutely loved that. I'd love to work with him. I'd love to work with Triple H and Shawn Michaels and that whole crew of people.
Oh, you would have fit in perfectly.
Yeah, I'd been right in my prime to do it.
Yeah. And that's the thing I think a lot of people don't realize, as I said before, is that you would have been right in your prime at that time.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it wasn't meant to be. But thankfully for us, you were able to join us today on the Apter Chat, which has been definitely a career highlight for me to be able to talk to you for as long as I have.
And always with me, you know that.
It's always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. Bill's like family to me, and one of the few people on this earth that I trust with pretty much anything. So you guys can reach out to me anytime you like, and
we will do that.
And it's just it's funny, but the thing what goes around, it comes back around in a different way, in a different form. But the thing is that people will always love wrestling for different reasons and still have a passion for it, and they know it's all entertainment, but they'll get as wound up about it today as they did in 1985.
Yep.
And it's special because of that. And I'm just I'm really thankful just to have had the opportunity to be part of the business, and what I got to do in a 6-year period of time is frankly just amazing to go from square one to where I got to go to, and I'm thankful for the ride that I had.
You were one of my favorite photographic subjects in the studio with the Bill Watts belt, with the U.S. belt. You always looked amazing. By the way, one thing that I have to take exception is you said, the people look at it today like entertainment. Go to the school bus stop in the mornings and listen to the kids. They're not talking about entertainment. They're talking about how much Braun Strowman hates Brock Lesnar, and it's still, it's still real.
They still it captures their imagination, and it's still a struggle, and it's it's and that's one of the things I love about Vince and what he's done with the women, and Charlotte and Becky Lynch. You've got one of the best feuds going I've seen. Like ever, and are building something that's become personal, and people are just some people like Becky, some people don't, some people think she's justified, people don't. They're like that. I mean, it's like all about everybody is so emotionally invested in it that's what makes good business, and so that stuff's great, and it's so sad. The announcement with Roman Reigns last night just choked me up.
Yeah.
And and somebody was saying, what does it make you feel like? Well, I know exactly what it feels like. I've been right there, and this kid's in a fight for his life. Yeah. And my heart goes out to him. My prayers go out for him and his family, and it's become real quick. But I can tell you, like I posted today online. And no kidding, the hero that he portrayed was bigger than life. But the speech he made on Raw last night made him the biggest hero on the planet to me, because he stepped up and he was a man.
Yep.
He handled that better than anybody could ever be asked to handle such a task. And I just hope that he's able to make a comeback from it like he did. 11 years ago, whenever he had his first bout with it, that he can overcome it again. But yeah, it's, the magic's still there. I'm still a fan. I follow all the products out there, and I want to see the NWA revived. If I can help Billy and those guys, if anybody ever wants to ask my opinion about something, I will. If not, I'll just keep my mouth shut and be glad to be around.
Well, as promised, an awesome interview with Magnum T.A. It was an honor for me to get to speak with him. Bill, obviously, you've known him forever. just a great guest for us to have on the show here.
I want to have him back, by the way, as an analyst, because when we had him on recently analyzing one of the upcoming WWE pay-per-views, he was brilliant. We've got to work out a contract to see if we could bring him on as a regular analyst.
Absolutely. And, I mentioned that you've known him forever, but you've known a lot of people, and that kind of brings us, that's a perfect segue into the Apter Chat Classics, brought to you by Smart Hold. Bill, who are you pulling from the vault this week?
Well, this week from the vault, you and I always, throughout all the weeks of this, are always talking about how tough wrestlers are.
Yeah.
And one of the toughest wrestlers in the world, I mean, really so well known in Japan and here in the United States and Australia, and he's retired, and he was on the same level and a tag team partner with Bruiser Brody. And he's the man who broke Bruno Sammartino's neck at Madison Square Garden. And I'm talking about the man from Borger, Texas, Stan the Lariat Hansen. And in this interview, it started off very nicely and it became confrontational. So let's take a listen right now to 10 minutes with one of the toughest men in pro wrestling, Stan the Lariat Hansen.
Okay, this is Bill Apter, and speaking here with a man known as the Bounty Hunter in this area, Stan Hansen. Stan, first of all, let's have your height and weight.
6'5", 312 pounds.
Okay, now how did Stan Hansen break into professional wrestling, first of all?
Terry Funk came to me when I was playing professional football and offered...
Who were you playing football for?
San Diego Chargers, and he offered a deal that I just couldn't resist and pass up, plus the money in professional wrestling is second to none. And
You're saying it was more of a money issue?
Yes,
otherwise, would you have stayed in football? Or?
I probably would have, yes. But,
were you around the same time Ernie Ladd was with the Chargers?
No, I was later. I'm 26. I'm the youth of America, brother.
Do you feel that you probably would have gelled as a greater football star than Ernie Ladd ever could have been?
I don't know.
You're friendly with Ladd.
He was a great football player, of course, but I was a great middle linebacker too, and I was just in the professional football for 1 year out of college, and like I said, the Funk family came around and offered me to come out of football and into professional wrestling, and like I said, the money was twice as good, and as I've proven here in the Northeast after breaking Bruno Sammartino's neck.
All right, well, we'll get into that, Stan. All right, first of all, did that become now detrimental to Terry Funk? Because Terry Funk, especially down in the area of Amarillo, where you started around the Texas area, Terry Funk is he's loved by the fans. Stan Hansen isn't. I'm sure you've wrestled Terry Funk. Have you become bitter toward him, or?
Not really bitter. Again, like it's Terry Funk and I are on a business friendship. In this business, you never know. That's why I'm a loner. I don't have a lot of friends, mainly because you're going to have to step in there and you're going to have to hurt and be hurt by people. You can't get to know anybody like them. So Terry Funk and I are strictly on a business thing. He did start me in professional. Really, it was Dory Funk Sr., and Terry is a few years older than me, and he instrumental in it, but we realize that it's mainly a professional friendship.
So in other words, really, it's a professional friendship, but when you get into that ring, you'll wrestle anybody, you don't care who the heck it is.
Yes, definitely. The money's the name of the game, and to make big money, you got to beat people, and that's exactly what I do. And if I get in the ring with Terry Funk, I'm going to beat him, hurt him, make my money.
All right, now a couple of times during this interview already, you mentioned age and the youth of America. Why are you so into this, Stan?
Well, let me tell you, the people, the hierarchy in Washington, it's going through a big change all over the country. Everybody's beginning to doubt the older people. A few years ago, if you were over 30, then you couldn't be trusted. Well, this adage is becoming true today,
Oh, I'm 31. In other words, you can't trust me.
Well, I don't know. I'm not saying... the age is really a state of mind, but I'm just saying, it doesn't have to be set at 30, but just like the Watergate and everything that happened in Washington, people are becoming disenchanted with the upper echelon. Well, look, they got to make room for Stan Hansen because I broke into wrestling 3 years ago, and I make great progress, and I'm at the top right now.
All right, now we know you've held the Texas championship, and now I'm sure you're going to say you lost that title on a technicality. You lost that to Rocky Johnson, am I correct?
Yes, it was definitely a technicality. Again,
what was technical about this?
Well, the referees, it was obvious Mr. Paul Bosch, I say Mr. The promoter down in Houston, Texas, was really close to Rocky Johnson. And again, the Funk family and myself included a number of times in Houston have been given calls by the referee that really are questionable. And it carried over from him knowing that Dory Funk Sr. started me in professional wrestling. It carried over down there in Houston.
You mean there's been a vendetta just because you had the Funk name behind you?
Yes, definitely. At the time I come in there, you know, I was doing a little work. Like I say, I'm a bounty hunter, and Terry Funk over the period of years and especially in the last year or so, it paid me a little bit of money to go down there and clean up Houston, Texas, and that's exactly what I did. And I tried to get rid of Paul Bosch, and I did get rid of Rocky Johnson, Chief Peter Maiva for the Texas belt, and then I was stuck with this Rocky Johnson with Paul Bosch in his corner, the promoter actually getting into the corner of my opponent, and it was I'd say technicality. I said it was just a little bit one-sided. And
are you sure you're just not copping out that you lost the title?
No, I never.
Would you admit a defeat if you were cleanly defeated?
Let me tell you something. In athletics, one must learn to lose gracefully. You know, I've never lost a battle. You know, a lot of people say they've never lost. I've never lost. I've never lost.
You're dodging the question. If you would lose a match, would you admit that the other guy was better?
Yes, I would. But I've never lost a match. I never lost in football. I never played over anybody that I didn't beat. I'm not saying my team didn't win, but brother Stan Hansen walked off the field the winner.
Okay, fine.
That's exactly what I'm talking about in Texas.
All right, now you left Texas, and Freddie Blassie, I know, was down there scouting for new wrestlers, and he was very impressed by you, and especially something you used in Texas, an elbow smash.
Well, it's not an elbow smash. It's called the lariat.
Yeah, this is your name for it.
Yes. You know, it goes back to in football, I played middle linebacker, and I was known all over the country. Anybody that come across, you can talk to anybody who knows football what a clothesline is. When somebody comes across the middle linebacker, just the clothesline takes the head right off. It's illegal to a certain extent. It's very devastating. Just like and I incorporated to putting an elbow pad on to protect my elbow from the tremendous pressure it's taken in this.
Now you're saying to protect the elbow, okay?
Yes.
I, along with thousands of other people, saw you use that lariat on several wrestlers, and during an interview, I saw an announcer hit that lariat, wiggle it a little loose, and coins came flying out of that lariat. Well, let's have your side of the story.
No, yes, he definitely, but as you said, you know, the TV announcer, the man that was doing the interview and everything, when he wiggled the thing, he had something in his hand himself.
You're saying he threw the...
Yes, he just let all the coins. He's trying to put into people's mind that the bounty hunter, Stan Hansen's not the best and the meanest.
You know, we can't
all.
really buy that, Stan.
Well, I don't care whether you buy it or not.
Okay, fine. We'll move on now to a couple of weeks later after that incident. The big one. You were wrestling Bruno Sammartino here at Madison Square Garden. First, you slammed Bruno Sammartino and busted his neck. Then, to complicate matters, you threw him into the ropes, hit him square in the jaw with the lariat, totally busting that neck, aggravating the condition. You proud of this?
Let me tell you, first let's set a few things straight. It wasn't the slam that broke Bruno Sammartino's
Well, this is what Bruno
neck.
said. I was in Pittsburgh last week.
Well, let me tell you, Bruno Sammartino, he's going to try to find a way out. He doesn't want a reputation. He doesn't want to build my reputation. I'm going to set Bruno and everybody else straight. You know, when you step into that ring, if the heat's too hot, then get out. Brother, every time you step in there, you're taking a chance with your life. Your neck, your back, your leg, your arm, everything. You know, professional wrestling, you can win in a number of ways. One is through submission. That means going against the joint, pain, until you give up. Well, I've never given up. Bruno Sammartino maybe should have given up. I did slam Bruno Sammartino on his head. But let me tell you something. In the past, I'm sure that Bruno Sammartino's been slammed a number of times on his head, on his back. He's taken tremendous beating. I've taken tremendous beating. But the point I'm getting to was it was the lariat that broke Bruno Sammartino's neck.
Well, this is what Bruno said. He said that during that slam, he felt the pain in the back and in the neck, and then the lariat and a clean snap of the neck. Now, like I said, are you proud of this?
Yes, I'm proud of it. You know, I was paid by Mr. Fred Blassie to come up here for one reason, get revenge. The people don't realize that Mr. Blassie has one eye. and one eye only. And the reason is that he was jumped and was put out by about 5 or 6 wrestlers, he tells me about.
Now, do you believe Blassie just because
Why
he
should I
paid
believe?
you
Why
a
should he
sum
come
of...
up here and give me a lie story? The man's put cold hard cash. That's the greatest bond in professional wrestling.
You feel that money tells the truth?
Yes. The man comes up and offers me X number of dollars and a lot of dollars. I'm telling you, I've got great bonuses since Bruno Sammartino's been in the thing. I've done exactly what he paid me to do. A lot of people have tried to do exactly what I've done.
Didn't he
but
also
only
pay you to
Stan
get the
Hansen's
belt,
done it.
Stan?
Huh?
He paid you to get the belt
Yes.
also, didn't you?
The belt will
Why
be
aren't you
mine and
wearing it?
his, yes.
Why
Why
aren't-
don't I have the belt?
Right.
That is a big question. Again, it's just a Yankee against the Texan. The whole Yankee commission. I beat the man. I walked out of the ring. I was the winner. Where is the man? He was supposed to be here. He can't even wrestle.
Well, he's
I
in the
should have the
hospital.
belt. Well, tough. That's tough. Yeah, I beat the man. Why don't I have the belt?
Okay, what
Another
about...
technicality.
What about future plans now with Stan Hansen and the Lariat, for example, Terry Funk, maybe even Nick Bockwinkel? You think you're going after both of those titles?
I tell you, like I said, Mr. Blassie's my manager at this stage in my career. If he wants me to go after Terry Funk or Nick Bockwinkel or anybody, Vern Gagne, Fritz Von Erich, it doesn't matter who. Wahoo McDaniels, Dusty Rhodes, I'm telling you, the Lariat can beat all.
Speaking about Dusty Rhodes, you were talking about youth and all that and people following you. Dusty Rhodes has got that American dream movement. Do you feel that's bull and the fans should be getting behind you and that type of thing?
Well, you know, I'm just saying that I'm a young man, 26
There
years
you go
old.
again
I'm a
with
great
the-
athlete.
Right.
I'm in
Going
great,
back to
great
age
shape.
again.
312 pounds.
What happens when you get over 30, Stan?
I'm not saying, you're just using 30 as a state. I said that was back a few years ago. But I'm 26 now.
Yeah.
I'm going to be on Easy Street. I'm going to be back down on my farm back in Texas, raising my kids, you know, when I'm 30 years old. I'm in here to make money and make it right now. In the next 4 or 5 years, I'm going to pave it with gold and at anybody's expense.
Okay, Bill Apter with Stan, the Bounty Hunter Hansen.
So, Josh, very intimidating. What kind of vibes did you get out of that classic interview?
Like you said, intimidating. He was, and I would suggest probably still is, an intimidating force to be reckoned with. The last time I saw him was watching the WWE Hall of Fame when he was inducted in 2016. But yeah, and he even then looked like a guy you wouldn't want to mess with. But what I did find interesting was, you introduced him before we went into the classic interview as Stan Lariat Hansen, which is how I always knew him. But you referred to him in the interview as the Bounty Hunter, and I thought that was neat. I never knew that was a nickname that he had. So
yeah, he did back then.
Makes it
That
even
was
more
the,
horrifying when you think about him.
All right. So every week we will bring you another classic Apter Chat, and you can only hear them here on the Apter Chat. So, Josh, hold on.
Oh, all right. You at least have something for me to listen to while I'm holding, right?
No, I just want to give you some dead silence. You enjoying this?
The dead silence? No, not at all. And you know what? I don't think I'm alone. I think there are plenty of people who don't enjoy being put on hold to nothing but silence. You know what they need, Bill?
They need a product put out by professional wrestler Mac Davis.
They need a product called Smart Hold Message on Hold. What is Smart Hold?
Good question.
Would you like me to share with you?
I really would.
Would you like me to share with the Apter chatters as well?
I think that would be superb.
All right. Well, Smart Hold is a message on hold service for only $35 per month. That's right. Only $35 per month. Plus, Bill, no contracts. If you run a business where you place callers on hold, one of your most effective and least expensive marketing tools is message on hold from Smart Hold. Plainly put, when you place a caller on hold, you have a captive audience. I don't think a lot of people realize that. So replace the radio stations and CD players, which is illegal, by the way, or maybe you have some really bad music that came with the phone. Even worse, silence. With today's cell phones, placing a caller on hold to silence is deadly. Most callers won't be sure if they're still connected, or they'll probably hang up. Now, can you afford to lose that call? I couldn't. With Smart Hold, we make your caller's hold time enjoyable and informative while making the caller's hold time feel shorter. It also makes you sound more professional, because with Smart Hold, you get pro voice talent, both male and female, unlimited message changes, professional script writers, broadcast quality audio, fresh background music, music, licensing fees, and even a smart hold player should you need one at no charge. All of that for only $35 per month per location served and no contracts. Go to www.smart-hold.com and order today. Again, that's www.smart-hold.com. Be smart. Get Smart Hold.
So with Kenny Bolin, you never know what you're going to get. And Josh, when you and I talked to Kenny Bolin and asked him for his list off the top of his head of the top 10 turkeys of 2018, little did I realize that he was going to be very graphic in his language. But then again, that's Kenny Bolin.
Yeah, I don't know how you didn't realize that he was going to be graphic with his language. This is Kenny Bolin, and one thing that I'll say about Kenny Bolin is you get all of him when you ask his opinion.
All right now, let's go to the interview we did, and again, it's graphic, so if you're not a fan of this type of humor, please pass it by. Kenny Bolin. So one of the most controversial people that we've had on, but one of the most fun segments we've had on is a segment. Josh, tell them what it's called.
It's called 10 Pins at the Bolin Alley with Kenny Bolin.
Yeah, and this week I got in touch with Kenny Bolin, and I said, do you think you could come up with a top 10 list, since it's November and Thanksgiving is just a few days away, with the top 10 turkeys of 2018. Kenny Bolin, welcome back to the Apter Chat.
Well, it's about damn time. I thought I was going to be a weekly segment on this thing. I thought that I was going to be on every week. And then I think I heard it got, well, King, we're going to do it every month. 6 months since I've been on. Wasn't it during the Nixon administration the last time you guys had me on?
I think Bill's still recovering from the last time you were on.
Oh, come on, man. I mean, I'm sitting here. It's election night. We're watching all the polls are coming in. Republicans are dropping like flies. It's crazy out here.
Well, here's what I want to say is to all the people, all the Apter chatters out there, that from here on, anything that Kenny Bolin says do not necessarily reflect the opinions of anyone here on the Apter Chat. So Kenny Bolin, right now, the top 10 turkeys of 2018.
Before I get started, I'm glad you phrased it that way, because that also means that you don't necessarily disagree with the things I'm about to say. So you kind of left the door open there, you know?
I like that.
All right. Okay, top 10. You all contacted me. Got with my people about a week ago. You wanted a top 10 list. Here we go. Number 10, General Akmar.
Who?
General Akmar. Number 9.
Interesting.
Princeton McGillicuddy. Strange name to live in Turkey, but what a name. Number 8, Turk John Chelik, one of the great wrestlers that's now in the Turkish government over there.
Josh, do you know about any of these people?
I'm not familiar with this. Kenny, I'm concerned that maybe you misunderstood.
I thought you said you wanted the top 10 Turkish generals of all time.
No. Top 10 turkeys of 2018.
Turkeys. I thought y'all meant Turkish generals.
No. Turkeys. Okay, let's try this again. Well,
I had a backup list here just in case I misunderstood. You know me, I'm always prepared.
It's professional.
I've got a craving now for Turkish taffy.
So not Turkish generals. That's
right.
Damn, I had a hell of a list going. I only got 3 deep on that. All right, here we go. Don't slow me up. This is a great list, backup list, I might say, but here we go.
Your 10, opinions.
Top 10. Oh, my opinion. Solely my opinion. I'll take the heat for all this. Top 10 turkeys. Here we go. Number 10 turkey, Golden Corral, but only during Thanksgiving week. Number 9, that is a Kroger brand turkey. Not a bad turkey, very low cost. You can get it for like 25 cents a pound.
I think we've.
Number 8, Purdue. Purdue, a fine turkey, but don't tell Damian Sandow that. He hates that family. They put him out of the chicken business. Number 7, Denny Moore chicken stew. Not a lot of people know about it. Pretty rare, hard to find.
Josh, I don't think he understands this.
Yeah, I don't think
number 6, Country Pride. That's a mid-level off-brand. You can get at Kroger if you want to go a little more.
Kenny.
King Bolin.
Number, we got Jimmy Dean's Pure Plucked Turkey.
All right. I feel like
people know about the Pure Plucked Turkey. Number coming in at number 2, we got Oscar Mayer Turkey Bologna. For those that don't want to mess with bones and cranberries and the sauce and the mesh, you got the Oscar Mayer Turkey Bologna. And number one, this goes without saying, everybody knows it, Butterball turkeys. What a list.
Well,
Kenny, that was very good list,
informative,
very entertaining, very informative, but not what we were looking for.
Yeah, not a lot of people know about the Jimmy Dean's Pure Plucked Turkey. That's very rare, hard to find, and quite expensive, I might add.
And I
we
actually
appreciate you
remember
sharing it with us.
I actually remember Jimmy Dean.
Well,
you probably remember the sausage days. When he got sick, he got into turkey. He took a great love for pot-bellied pigs, and he quit selling sausage. So he hated turkeys, though. So
Josh, I'm not sure. I think we are all turned around here. So, Kenny, again, thank you so much for that list. But that's not exactly what we had in mind. No. We were thinking when we said turkeys,
you didn't want the top 10 Turkish generals, which I had a hell of a list right here.
Right.
Not that you would have known any of them, but I did my homework. I knew them. My son knew them. He was wanting to be on the show tonight.
Oh,
now you're crapping all. Well, I'll just say you're all over my top 10 turkey list here before Thanksgiving.
I would never do that where I eat.
This gives people a great idea of what to shop for when they go maybe to Kroger.
I think next time we're going to have to email you exactly what we're looking for. We meant people.
So now you're saying I can't comprehend simple instructions. Is that what you're saying?
Wow.
Yeah. But this is
can't believe Bill
supposed to be
said
the
that.
top 10 people who are considered.
No one ever said people. No one said people. Since when do you call people turkeys? Oh, I get it. You're talking about who was that famous black comedian used to call everybody a jive turkey? The guy in Sanford and Son.
Red Fox.
Red Fox.
Yeah. Well, no, not Red Fox. Red Fox's son.
DeMont Wilson.
No, Flip Wilson said jive turkey too. That is correct.
No, DeMont Wilson, who was the actor.
There you go. Very good. How'd you pull that name out of your ass? No one has said DeMont Wilson's name today but us. I'll promise you that. And I don't know that anyone said Flip Wilson's name today but us. Both were known for saying jive turkey.
That's right, jive turkey.
I think Eddie Murphy said it a time or two as well, and possibly who was the comedian that lit himself on fire snorting coke?
Richard Pryor.
There you go, another jive turkey.
All right, so do you think off the top of your head now, or the top of your crown, that you could come up with a list of 10 people who would be considered the turkeys of 2018 for various things they did?
This is totally unorthodox, and I've already given you two of the greatest goddamn lists ever presented in the history of mankind about turkeys.
Yeah, no one's questioning.
And now I got to sit here and come up with a third one to try and educate. Here we go. All right, off the top of my head, number 10 person that was a turkey this year for 2018, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Let's go with. We're going to get 2 turkeys in one on this one. How about the Bella bitches? How about those 2 turkeys?
I think you meant twins there and just mispronounced it.
No, I said Bella bitches. I mispronounced
the opinions expressed by Kenny Bolin are not the opinions.
I shouldn't call them turkeys because what they are is leeches. They're leeches. They're leeching off my money bag, John Cena. And then John Cena's little buddy was that little bearded goat. And goat don't stand for greatest of all time either. It's because he looks like a goddamn goat. And those 2 who knew they could never get a real man latch onto that goat, and I think he was dating both of them at once, and then he finally admitted he couldn't handle both of the Bella bitches. So I think Cena took the leftovers, was going to actually marry her. Can you imagine John Cena getting married? John Cena's laid every woman from Albuquerque to New Zealand. And they thought that one Bella bitch was going to pin down John Cena. No way in hell, baby. So there you go. Number 10, the Bella bitches. That's what I know them as because, they're not good people. Let's see, number 9. I'm going to go with. Can I go out of wrestling and pick a few of these?
Absolutely.
But
I think for the sake of our careers in the wrestling business, maybe you should.
I'm going to go with Alec Baldwin. Alec Baldwin. I love Alec Baldwin. I love his impersonation of Trump. But that stupid he got in a damn fight with somebody the other day and got his ass kicked off the season premiere of Saturday Night Live. So I was deprived from getting to see a funny impersonation of Donald Trump because once again, Alec Baldwin can't control his own temper. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put out a warning to Alec Baldwin right now. Next time you get hot and you want to piss him out, fight me. Me and you'll fight in a damn club somewhere. Just me and you where no one knows about it. And then when I get done whipping your ass, you'll get up and you'll do my funny Donald Trump impersonation. And then I'm not pissed off come Saturday night at about 11:35.
That's fair enough, I suppose.
And number 8, let's go with Vince McMahon.
Okay.
Vince McMahon for not having the guts to say, F you, Saudi Arabia. F you for killing our journalist. F you for treating your people so goddamn bad. I'm going to bring all my people over there, collect your billions. Well, not all the people, because John Cena, who was tied into number 10 turkeys, the Bella Bitches, he said, I ain't going. And I think the goat said he wasn't going too, didn't he? Did the goat?
That's
and
yes.
Well, you know, Saudis might eat a damn goat, so he's probably wise staying here. And then the other thing that kind of irks me a little bit is I'm a little disappointed that little Christian wrestler. He's always bragging about how much he believes in God and all this, but he's going to go over there and take the payday. I'm talking about AJ Styles. I thought for sure he would boycott, but he didn't. He's apparently going. So my hat's off to the two that boycotted. Screw you, Vince McMahon, for taking blood money. You took him blood money. This thing's getting a little more serious than you guys were counting on.
They
certainly
really are.
All right, now let's pick another turkey. Let's stay in the wrestling business here. How about that little asshole Austin Aries?
Yeah.
How about that little half-pint shrimp? How about that guy that was lucky to ever get 5 minutes in the wrestling business and thinks everyone owes him the goddamn world? What's this I'm hearing? I hear it because I don't see a lot of TNA, and the reason I don't is because it sucks.
But TNA doesn't exist anymore. It's just Impact now, and you should check it out.
Impact. Well, that's the last time I saw it. I think it was called WCW.
Okay.
That's the last damn thing I saw down there. So, I hear he got all upset because he had to lose to somebody with the last name of Impact. Can't blame him. If you're a human being that breathes and you had to lose to somebody named Impact, I'd probably be a little pissed too. But you got to show professionalism. You got to take your loss, and you got to be like a man. And didn't you have some information on this too? I heard that you guys talked about it on another podcast about him just being a little baby.
Well, maybe not so many words, but yeah, he did. I
did use a lot of words.
He walked out of at the end of Bound for Glory, and we don't know, what's a work and what's a shoot, but it looks like he's not with Impact anymore. He was a little pissed off at that, but I will tell you, most recently he's been sparring on social media with a good friend of yours, James E. Cornette.
Oh yeah, what have they been fighting about?
Well, Jim Cornette said, "Don't knock Austin Aries' talent. He's a good performer. The only reason he fails everywhere is because he's a miserable little whiner who thinks he should be pushed to the moon and knows more than everyone else. Wrestling and promos, he's fine. Probably needs a cheeseburger." And
sounds like Jimmy Cornette may have been describing himself when it comes to booking territories.
Yeah. So Austin Aries wasn't thrilled about that.
But I do have to maybe, as bad as I hate to, have to go along with Cornette on that one. Because he's very fortunate to get what he's got. I mean, come on, who's going to stand next to Austin Aries and think he can whip butter with an outboard motor? Come on, he's been a very fortunate man. Any dollar he's made in the wrestling business is a dollar he shouldn't have got.
Well, so what happened was he took that quote of Jim Cornette and put it on a less than flattering photo of Jim Cornette on an airplane, and then Jim Cornette shot back at him. Somehow,
I love childish behavior. I just love it. You get a couple of 8-year-olds going back and forth. That's the best ever.
Yeah. So he basically.
I'm sorry. I said Jimmy was 8. I take that back. An 8-year-old and a 5-year-old going back and forth at each other. That's just the best ever.
Anyway, so Jim Cornette did accuse him of then eating a bunch of turnips in frustration. So
is Jimmy Cornette still alive? I didn't even know he was alive to be fighting with anybody. I hadn't heard anything out of him in quite some time.
Is he on your list?
Is he? I'm going off the top of my head. Let me see where I get to.
Okay, let's.
He
Who's
may not
next?
be. I haven't got there yet. Well, we spent way too goddamn much time on Austin Aries. That's
We
damn-
did.
more time than apparently Impact spent on him.
Oh,
Let's go. How about Brock Lesnar?
okay.
There's an old name from the past.
Why Brock Lesnar?
What about that big turkey? Well, he don't know what he wants to do. He's an MMA guy one day. He's in the WWE the next. I might show up at this event. I might show up at that one. Well, I'm on the roster. I'm not on the roster. Oh, I'm booked. Oh, I didn't know I was booked. Oh, did I no show? Oh, I didn't know. Paul Heyman didn't tell. Come on, shit. Pick a sport. He tried to play fucking football and he couldn't cut it. The Minnesota Vikings cut him. How goddamn bad you got to be at football when the Minnesota Vikings 10 years ago cut you? I mean, goddamn, come on. So come on, Lesnar, pick a sport. Don't make me beat your ass like I did in that high school gym years ago.
We've heard about that.
And everybody saw it. Everybody saw it. I roughed him up. You know, that's one of the most biggest heats I've ever got in my life is when I told the God's honest truth about what happened between me and Lesnar. And in a shoot, all I said is that big pie faced me, and I didn't go down. Oh, Brock Lesnar, the pie faced you, you'd have went down all right. I'm a man. I'm a man. I ain't none of these little mousy managers like Cornette and some of these various who's that little bastard in the WWE now that likes to do lips all over the damn place. Oh God, Lashley needs to shut his ass up. Lashley, it's all he does. I want to see all that acrobatic shit he can do. He ain't done shit but put on a jacket with no shirt since he's been there and go, Lashley, put him on the list. Leo Rush is a little turkey. Taking my prize, Bobby Lashley, one of the greatest wrestlers, one of the greatest physical specimens of all time, and that little half-pint mouse is ruining him. He hadn't got a good quality win since Leo Rush got hooked up with him. I'm going to have to come out of retirement, wheel down there like Raymond Burr in a goddamn wheelchair to the theme from Ironside and save Bobby Lashley's life. Leo Rush wasn't on the list. He is now. I got pissed even thinking about him. Lashley. Yeah, that's going to get him to the top, you stupid little fucking midget. All right.
Okay.
He's better off talking about Butterball, guys.
Where do we go from there?
How about
You notice that Bill Apter has left the room.
Yeah. Did you leave? You ain't even been here for any of this. Hey, I don't blame you.
No.
I don't blame you.
I'm getting ready to throw up one of those
This is not an approved segment of the Apter Chat.
Not approved? How can you not approve this? This is going to be the highlight of the show. What about that little Pete Davidson head? What a turkey he is. He couldn't even keep on to Ariana Grande. Do you realize if Ariana Grande chose me over him, how many kids we'd have right now, how deeply in love she'd be? She'd quit the music business just so she could cater to me and be my personal nurse. But no. Pete Davidson screwed that up. And then he goes picking on that war hero. What's his name? Dan Crenshaw. Have y'all heard about him?
Yeah.
The guy that looks like a pirate running for Congress.
Okay. So that was the controversy here was that he made a joke.
All right, I got a couple more turkeys here. Did I get Jerry Lawler in? Did I name Jerry Lawler as a top turkey?
No, but I was sure you were going to.
Number 3, Jerry Lawler. Number 1, I think he's muted me on Twitter because he doesn't like my Trump rants. And those Trump rants are great. You've seen them, haven't you, Bill?
I think Bill really did leave.
Bill left the room again? Son of a bitch. I wanted to hear out of his mouth that he's seen my Trump rants. You've seen them, right?
I've seen them. I have seen them.
They're the greatest things ever, huh? Of course they are. They're the greatest things ever. So then Jerry Lawler, to spit in my face, shows up at a Trump rally with a selfie phone, taking selfies with him and Trump, and then he's got to sit behind him with those clapping, barking seals that sit behind Trump that are hand-picked. So apparently he called Lawler down in Memphis to come on up to Nashville. And Lawler sitting in the crowd. Lawler used to always bitch about the marks. Don't be a mark, Kenny. Act like you've been here. Act like you're a pro. Never be a mark. I think he got a little upset with me one night when I kind of marked out for Jackie Fargo a little bit first time I'd met him. And then there's Jerry Lawler sitting with the barking and clapping seals right there with Donald Trump. Embarrassed everybody. Embarrassed every Democrat that ever lived and walked the earth. And about 55% of the decent Republicans. All right, so Jerry Lawler, turkey list. Number 2, turkey. How about Jimmy Cornette?
Okay. Why not?
How dare he? Runs his yapper all the time. He's been retired from the business for 20 goddamn years. Can't keep a job anywhere. I covered that on Bill After Show a few years ago when I talked about every failure that Jimmy Cornette had been involved in. Basically, any company he'd been to had fired him. We covered all this in a much longer edition a few years ago. It's on YouTube. It's one of the greatest hits that Bill After ever had. One of the most controversial shows because I'm the first one to ever speak out and tell everybody what a piece of failure Jim Cornette was. Nobody wants to believe that. Jim Cornette is the Donald Trump of wrestling managers. He's got that core base that believes all his bullshit. And he's got those little heathens out there where if he told them to drink the purple Kool-Aid, cover up with a nice little silver blanket, and put on your new Converse tennis shoes, that aliens are going to come down tonight and pick you up and fly you to a strange place far, far away, and you're going to get 73 virgins. The last time 73 virgins had anything to do with Jim Cornette, well, I won't mention the elementary school he was in, but that's the last time Jim Cornette ever got close to 73 virgins. He's a turkey. Because he ended his friendship with me because me and Russo were setting records over on his network and podcasting, and that ate Jim Cornette alive, and he decided not to be my friend anymore for the better part of about 2 years now. So how big a turkey you got to be? So put Jimmy on the number 2 turkey list, and you're ready for number 1.
Yes,
Do I get
that was a friend of the show, Jim Cornette, number 2.
Well, you had Jerry Lawler on the show too.
Absolutely.
Did he badmouth me any? I hear my name came up. Did he badmouth me?
You know what? I think our listeners are going to have to go back into the archives and
have you noticed that none of all these people that want to badmouth me never do it to my face?
Yeah.
Do you realize they're all cowards and they go on podcasts like yours and like the one Apter used to have, and Cornettes and various Jerichos, Stone Cold Steve Austins, and they all want to talk shit about Kenny Bolin, but none of them would do it to my face. You know why? Because I am a legit badass. I don't take that shit. I will verbally destroy you. I will physically destroy you. And if I don't feel up to it that day, my son, the Prince, will do it for me for free because I don't pay for shit.
All right.
Just like the next guy I'm getting ready to mention.
All right. And the number one turkey.
Number 1 turkey. Everyone knew it was coming. Everybody knows this is the guy. If I'm at hot at the 9 below him, you know I'm hot at this one. Donald J, and the J stands for Trump. What a piece of shit. What a piece of shit. He cages babies. He doesn't want the caravan. The caravan, they're coming. They got leprosy. They've got polio. They've got gout. They've got crotch rot. Everything he can name on these poor, dissolute people who are just looking for a better job and a better place from a country that won't kill them. And Trump wants to send 20,000 troops to the border with rifles if they dare throw a rock at any of our soldiers. Where have you ever heard this before? Oh, let's see. Afghanistan, Iraq, Iran, some parts of Africa. That's where you hear about like that at. And Trump wants to send 20,000 soldiers for the 2,000 that might show up. If my math is right, that's roughly about 10 soldiers for every guy that shows up. And if one of them throws a rock, to which every other decent country in the world just ignores them, well, it's a fucking rock. Get over it. I got a helmet on. I got a shield on. Trump wants our soldiers to shoot on sight. He didn't come right out and say that, but why else do you want an army soldier and say, if you throw a rock, we will consider you got a rifle? So those fear tactics haven't worked. It's election night, and I see Republicans dropping like flies all over the place. So I know what's happening is that now he's going to realize the success of The Walking Dead. He realized The Walking Dead's the greatest show on television, and everybody knows about it, and everybody's talking about it. So he's now going to claim there's a zombie apocalypse coming. Oh, my God, the zombies are coming. The zombies are going to eat Republican brains. And, well, he doesn't have anything to fear there because you can't eat what don't exist. He's a fucking turkey. I'm blown up. I don't know what more you people have asked me.
I don't
Hey,
know.
Josh, I'm back.
Oh, hey, Bill, welcome back.
After you missed the best shit, man. Where'd you go?
Well, you said we don't curse on this show. We don't allow it on this show.
Nobody told me that.
I made sure, Bill, in your absence, to confirm that you agreed with everything that Kenny Bolin just said. So I don't want you to worry.
I told that censor to get is what I told him. You get Kenny Bolin, you get him uncut, unedited, and uncensored.
We got him.
We definitely did. Thank you so much, Kenny, for taking the time to give us these top 10 turkeys of 2018.
I did say good day.
All right. Well, what did you think, Bill?
I don't think at the moment. That was Kenny Bolin.
Yeah, we want to thank Kenny for coming on the show. We want to thank him for being honest and sharing his opinion. And if there is anybody out there that disagrees, the one thing that I ask is that you share your disagreement in maybe not in exactly the same way that Kenny expressed some of his stuff. If you want to send your hate tweets, Kenny's on Twitter, and let us know what your thoughts were about it. It did get a little more controversial than we were anticipating, but at the same time,
a little.
Look,
a lot.
You asked for Kenny Bolin, you're gonna get Kenny Bolin, and
Okay.
and that's look, the opinions. We might not agree with some of the opinions. We might agree with some of the opinions, but not the way that he stated them. But either way, I thoroughly enjoyed having Kenny Bolin on the show. So send your hate tweets to So Says Shernoff.
Well, this was quite a show, Josh, going from Headlock on Headlines to David Marquez from the National Wrestling Alliance to Magnum T.A, and then that, I don't know what to call it, from Kenny Bolin, but another episode of the Apter Chat is on the pod waves.
Yeah, episode 14. So next week is a very special 15th anniversary. We went all out to celebrate our 10th anniversary of 10th episode of the show. Our 15th episode is going to be just as enjoyable. And you just have to wait and see. Check out our Instagram at the Apter Chat. That's where we are now dropping the guest. So you'll be able to see that in advance before the episode actually airs. So check that out. And of course, you can find us on Twitter at the Apter Chat. Find us on Facebook at the Apter Chat. Bill, where can they find you?
Well, at onewrestling.com, and here at the Apter Chat, of course, and at BeApter at onewrestling.com. So, Josh.
Well, you can find me at So Says Shernoff on Twitter and Facebook. Go to theapterchat.com for our merch, for Bill's book, Is Wrestling Fixed?
I didn't know it was broken. I can't get over Kenny Bolin. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know you really can't.
My
And
mind
again,
is like,
that's at Starmaker Bolin. If you disagreed with anything he had to say, please send those tweets to at Starmaker Bolin. If you agreed with what he had to say and loved his segment, let us know and send those tweets to at Starmaker Bolin. Bill, I'm going to let you go so you can go cry in the shower or whatever it is you need to do to get past this interview. And
I'm just going to wonder why Kenny. Well, we'll discuss that on another Apter Chat.
Hashtag why Kenny why.
Yes, really. Thank you for listening, of course, once again to the Apter Chat, and you can still follow me on onewrestling.com. Josh?
I'll see you, Bill.
We'll see you and all the Apter Chatters at the matches.
So tell me what you really think about the Kenny Bolin segment.
I